Welcome to my podcast. This is JOYFull, a raw journal of the mindful revolution. My name is Ethan Edward Sherritt. I'm the host, and today I have a co-host. His name is Ronnie. He's about to be over here in just a minute. So thanks for listening once again. Here we go.
So it's possible to make a podcast with that?
Yeah. This app here, it's been coming pretty good. The only problem I have had is that, I guess those levels there, like some of the people that I've interviewed have not been loud enough, you know, because I want everybody to relax. And yeah, there you go. Whatever makes you comfortable. Whatever makes you comfortable. And dude, I guess I've been on a recently begun journey to kind of take in some of the things that like you're talking about. I mean, I've never heard of a popular breathing guy right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually funny that you say that. It does sound like 20 years ago, at least in the Western world.
Okay.
That would be kind of weird, right?
Yeah. But it's a boom, dude. I mean, these things are like, you know, that's kind of what I'm excited about. Is like, you can have a conversation like this.
Yeah, this is the new reality, man. This is the golden age that we've been waiting for. It's happening. So if you walk into any yoga studio, the teacher is going to be talking about how there's going to be a shift in consciousness and blah blah blah. There is no going to be. It's now. Like it's already happened.
Yeah.
And it's just a different version of like the 2012 thing, and all the ancient texts point to this, and people are like, you know, from a human perspective, are we just going deep right away?
Are we going deep right away? Yeah. What do you mean?
We just started talking about, all right, I'll keep on going.
Yeah.
From a human perspective, it's like everyone was imagining like spaceships to come down here, and then like our president to come out and be like, hey, everybody, guess what? Things have changed. And that's just like...
Which president?
I'm just saying people are looking to the top as a symbol of evolution or revolution or just... And it's not coming from there. It's coming from us, and more specifically, it's coming from the energy of us.
Yeah.
So not from our body, but from the other stuff, the real stuff. And, dude, I'm completely in this new reality. Every single person I meet is wanting to have conversations about this.
Since when for you, man? Because we both knew each other probably before, like, we both probably had, like, the wiring to be open to it, to be receptive. The last time, like, we used to know each other in some old day job, like, 10 years ago. And we haven't spoken since then.
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
And so now, like, we've gone through a lot, but when did you start picking up steam for, like, a new...
Yeah. I would say I was moving at a snail's pace my whole life because I rejected school. I played hockey since I was 3 years old, which is pretty much... I don't remember past that point. So all my lessons I got through sports. And everything they teach you in school is like, I couldn't understand the relevancy of any of it. Yeah. Right? Like, there's real tangible lessons you learn through sports. Like, they're real. They're not like you take a test and pass. They're like real. So,
like what?
Well, like, just simple things like what happens when you don't listen to the coach, or how to make friends.
How to make friends. That's a huge one right there.
Yeah.
Like which guy is likable.
Or if you even want friends.
Yeah.
Right? I've been mostly a loner my whole life. Like my entire life. I've it's been hard to find people to communicate with, but it's exponentially advancing to the point where like I'm freaking the most popular guy in the room everywhere I go now.
It's exponentially, right?
Yeah.
So is there like a first thing that you remember, like, oh, somebody loaned me this book, or I met this one dude at a yoga class or at a gym and he turned me on to something?
So,
What was that?
yeah, I was getting to that, but basically I went to college and I didn't buy any textbooks in college because, again, it was pointless. You know, I went to college for psychology and exercise science because I wanted to learn about people. And then I went to college and I was like, wait, we're not learning about people. We're learning about, I don't even know what. Just like stuff that it's not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I started reading. And then that was the game changer. So I think about 19 years old, I was just reading everything. And I'm kind of a broad person when it comes to learning. So when you start reading in broad subjects, you start realizing universal truths. And so, like I said, that was like snail's pace, 19 to 22-ish. And then I started meditating for the first time.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
At 22. So I'm just alone in my bedroom in Michigan and just going inside. And you know what? I have to admit, most of the meditations were basically about seducing women over this, well, I mean, they were girls then, but over this like energetic field. Mostly before I went to bed at night, because I was assuming that their mind was at the same frequency as my mind.
Yeah.
And I did this with just the girls I really wanted.
Did that give you like the...
Literally, there's
Gave
not...
you the, like, the self, like,
No,
confidence?
man.
For sure.
It was more than that. It drew them to me. It wasn't self-confidence.
Okay.
Because I
feel.
don't know how to... I wouldn't say that now, but there was a understanding I had that I was socially awkward, because when I want to talk deep, and most people, you know, talking about the bar they were at the night before is really what they want to talk about.
It's like a shift of gears.
Not now,
you can just see,
but back then.
Yeah, but in this town, you can still have like meetings with people, and you say something, and you think it might go someplace. And you see that they can't shift gears like that or something.
Yeah.
Or they're not ready for that level.
And there's people that I'm not ready for also.
Yeah.
You know, that they're at a higher elevation than me. What was I talking about, though? Because
I just talked to a lady at Wanderlust like a week ago. And she's she's like a floating light. You know, I think she's probably 65, and she's a Kundalini teacher there. And I just asked her take on the third eye, because she kept mentioning it all through class. And I thought she would just like really hit me with some knowledge, but it was like kind of like what you're saying, like she was on a higher level, and it was kind of hard for her to bring it down to me. But I tried, dude. I pressed through, and I was like, no, you tell me what you see. What do you see about this third eye? How should I think of this? Because everybody can say it a million different ways. But I want to hear you, because something about that might, like, soak in.
Yeah.
She just couldn't stop, like, you know, her inner smile, and just, like, she didn't change, I guess, is what it was. Like, when I talk to somebody, sometimes I change, like, what do you want to know? How can I work on that? You know? And she was just, like, the same floating light. Like, as she explained it to me. So I think that is... that, like what you were talking about, people are up there sometimes to you.
Yeah, man, you just mentioned light, and I was talking about how I can attract women magnetically. I just want to finish that up. I'm pretty shy.
Yeah?
So I learned that I can just like go into the inner world, and girls that I want, I could just bring them to me through this like inner meditative practice. Because that means that I don't have to actually approach them, or I don't have to ask them to hang out.
What a workaround, man.
Dude.
What a workaround.
Yeah, it's never failed
box.
my entire life. And I don't use it with every girl. But there's sometimes, you know, there's girls that you're just like, all right, I need some extra backup on this one. And then I go do that, and And like I said, I don't usually, I'm not aggressive when it comes to starting to hang out with a girl. I have to like, they have to chase me in a way, and I help them along. But you mentioned light.
Mm-hmm.
Light, I want people to know more of, because we associate light to the sun,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little difficult if you believe the sun is just a burning ball of gas, which is what we're taught. Because when you just think of a fire, it's consuming and kind of destroying. Maybe destroying is not the right word.
No, but I've had that feeling of like when you really meditate upon the sun, you meditate on something that is really, really a destructive force. Like the surface of it is gas and
well,
burning.
That's what I wanted to say, is that like people have to stop thinking about the sun like that. There's a huge campaign against the sun.
So what helps you?
Huge. Well,
so people are trying to propagandize the sun?
Yeah, and listen to the way you're talking. You have 100% certainty that it's a ball of gas burning up there.
Yeah, I guess I've never questioned that.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's nuts how they brainwash us. It's nuts. So the light you were talking about, that lady, right?
Yeah.
That is consciousness. That is what people label as God, or whatever, the thing that flows through all of us. I mentioned like background energy field. There's other names of something that goes through all of this. And electricity is another way that this energy kind of manifests itself. As far as I know, we have a hard grasp with electricity. It's hard for us to explain it scientifically. Electricians will even tell you, like, I don't even know what it is, but it just makes things work. Right?
But it's the energy that has been done to harness it. It's like purely the energy that humans have done that makes it occur.
So the next time you're at the Griffith Park Observatory or anywhere that has pictures of the sun, I want you to look at it, and you'll see a bunch of rings, but elliptical rings coming off the surface of the sun. And I want you to imagine them not as a ring off the surface of the sun, but like a electric arc that starts in the middle somewhere and comes out and around. And you'll see that these things are all over the sun. It looks like a big buzzing ball of electricity. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's stuff that's clearly burning on the surface, or at least that's what it looks like. Mm-hmm.
And it somehow has a way to like transfer that energy as brilliant light and heat by the time it gets to us.
Yeah, so when you think about the sun as more of an electric object, and then all the other stars are the same thing, it connects this huge grid. And then the planets are also little nodes, and so are we. So it's this stuff is flowing through everything. And dude, getting in the sun is one of my daily things that I do. Just like we have to drink water and eat and breathe, I get in the sun. The reason why I was like, hey, it's going to be closer to 5 than 4 is because I didn't go out in the sun today. So I went out and I laid naked in my front yard just so I can collect the energy. Sun gazing is also a thing. I've
only been out in the sun for a few minutes today, and that's really making me feel depleted, man.
Well, when you go out in the sun as thinking that the sun is food, which it is, you really feel the effects because it's in your brain. You're just like, oh, I need to get out.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: do you put sunscreen on?
Never. I haven't my entire life.
You're pretty tan complected person.
Yeah. I haven't finished reading this book yet, but there's a book on melanin that talks about, again, melanin being more than just stuff that colors your skin to protect you from the sun. That it's actually, think about what melanin is. It's stimulated by light. So this book is suggesting that melanin is actually the spirituality molecule, and it like connects you.
Whoa.
I mean, it's written by a suit like dark as this table, black dude.
Yeah.
So
what is his perspective? Yeah, that's interesting.
So
I want to know more about that.
It seems like he would be a little biased, but like I said, it's not even a book. It's just this list of
But can you imagine your mindset if you're like, well, the way I was born, I guess I have like this physical closeness with spirituality, and this, at least in this melanin aspect.
Well, I haven't been to Africa, but from what I hear, it's all like rituals and like with the local, like the uncivilized people, it's very shamanic, and they have their...
That comes across to me for sure. Just to watch any documentary about like the people visiting there, and the whole huge like school children just busting into it, unified singing and dancing and stuff. That's not as common here for sure.
So wait, what's going on with, you mentioned like a sort of awakening with you? Because these books you have right here look pretty awesome.
This one here is my, like, I think I took my first yoga class in about 2004, shortly after I moved to LA. And I had a really good yoga teacher, and she was so good. She made me, it was like a meditation. Your brain was off, and you were just like, almost like she went into your brain and adjusted things by how good she was at describing it. And I felt like so blessed and almost like maybe a little arrogant that I was taking to yoga so well. And she would mention things like lining up your chakra, okay? That was pretty vague now that I know it.
Yeah.
But it like when I'd heard those things, I just assumed that it was an internal thing that has to be aligned. And this book that I got just about a month ago made me realize how ancient that is, how much sense it makes. It starts off like the people who started taking apart the subatomic particles in the 1950s, like physicists saying, we're taking apart the smallest things we know, and what we keep finding is there's more empty space.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vedas, the ancient texts from the Far East from a long time ago, like, there's a couple guys that he quotes in here that mention those things. He's like, those things become more relevant now that we're finding like what we think about subatomic particles. And so he introduces it like physicists are fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And like, and it has to do with nerve endings, so it's physiological. And it has to do with the unexplainable, like, source, energy, so it's spiritual. And so it's like unique to everybody, but it's also kind of encompassing. And so I'm on the third one, man. Like, just for this one book, I'm on a journey to focus on the root chakra, and the next one, and the next one. And I just, a few days ago, started like a third chakra. And I'm kind of like documenting that in my little way on this podcast. It's something that I needed to do on March 1st, you know, became single dad. And it was like a tough thing to like kind of go through.
Like 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
Yeah. So just like, and like I was saying, I've been open to these things for a long time, and thought I kind of knew them, but I didn't realize until I needed to completely reorganize what I was pursuing. I don't know if you know, but I used to like, I came to LA to be an actor. Or I don't know if I came here to be an actor, but it was something that I put a lot of time and energy in. So like when you and me used to work that day job together, that was so that I could be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
This job that I have now, so I could be an actor. But think of all that time that I'm putting in. All my energy is going into this one thing that's not what I want to do. And so I've obliterated that. I no longer care about that at all. I'm just like exploring like what comes next and how to make sure everything's lined up.
Yes. Yes.
Does that make sense?
That's awesome.
Tell me about Shasta, man.
Oh man. So
because I texted you when I found out through my brother, who actually listens to something that you do, a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was just a guest on a podcast.
So you were just a guest, but that impacted him so much that he mentioned you.
Dude.
Out of the blue.
People are like, when I've only done 2 podcasts besides this on the same podcast show, and the feedback they get from me is insane. People go nuts, so it's pretty cool.
You got disciples, man. I don't know how that makes you feel because you.
But your brother didn't know you knew me, did he?
Not at all.
So he just was
He said I was talking about something, and he was like, "There's this podcast I listen to. There's this guy, I think his name is Ronnie or something." And he started describing you. He described your manner of speech, the way that you looked, and I was like, "Dude, what's his name again?" I was like, "Yeah." And I hadn't seen you, like I said, in 10 years, except where I thought I saw you training somebody up Runyon a few months back, barefoot.
Oh, I wasn't training anyone. I usually just have somebody run with shoes on in front of me so that I don't slow down.
Oh yeah?
Or I'm in front of them, yeah. So I run barefoot and they run with shoes.
You were, dude. This is what I heard. I was with Jack, I think. This is like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I'm pretty sure I heard you telling somebody how your stride is different when you're barefoot.
Yeah, of course. Wait, you heard me saying that?
I hear a lot, dude. If there's 2 people coming, I like there's their energy, and then the next people, like I soak up something they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. It's hard for me to not teach.
Yeah, has that always been? It's like the more you know, right?
Well, I mean, I will fully admit I am a student. I am a student of all of this, whatever, of life. So
that's one thing I saw on your Instagram page. That was like somebody professes that they're a student and they're open to anything.
Yeah, I don't actually know a lot about most things. I just know a little about a lot of things, and I can make connections and see what's true over here is true over there, and over here, and over here, and over here. So this is a theme that seems to be authentic, right?
Yeah. What's your birth sign?
Libra.
I don't know anything about that. It's just got to be. I'm just looking for some kind of thing that seems similar, man. There's some kind of mentality, like the way that you're explaining things seems kind of similar.
There's the year of birth also.
The year of birth. Well, I'm a little bit older than you. 76.
What?
Yeah.
82.
82. Right on.
So Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
Thanks
for getting back on track, dude. You've only done a few of these. You're actually really good at it. Because people are like, he was about to say something, and then I start babbling. Right.
Dude, that podcast has 3 people. Imagine, like it's hard for me to complete topics when there's 3 people because everyone wants to talk.
Yeah.
So this is easy. This is actually what I desired.
Cool.
Which is why I'm here.
Nice.
So Shasta is a chakra of the planet. Just like we have chakras.
Yeah.
The planet is a living conscious entity also. So it has chakras. And Mount Shasta, have you been to Mount Shasta?
No.
Dude. So on the way up, I was driving from 120 miles away. I came around this bend in the road, and then wasn't expecting on seeing anything because I'm 120 miles away from Mount Shasta, but right in the center of the road where the freeway goes is this giant white pyramid. Like, it looked symmetrical, and it's just white, and it's so far away, and it's the only one. Mount Shasta isn't part of like a mountain range. It's a volcano, so it's just a giant pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh man, that place is magical. But I went up there because there's this guy I just met, I was guided to him, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And he does light work, again, back with the light. Mm-hmm. He does light work on this planet. And trying to like open up the grid for higher conscious beings to kind of move around within this realm, and also increase the collective consciousness of the planet. So he wakes up every single day, meditates, gets instructions, writes them down, and then just follows them. And he just goes places and he activates sites, and he uses people to do it. So he uses people that are vibing high, I guess, and or lighter, and he activates sacred sites. So we were in Mount Shasta, like...
Did he text you my instructions this morning, said
he
we
has...
must depart from Mount Shasta?
Well, he... No, it wasn't like that. He knew about it ahead of time, so he plans his trips.
Okay.
And he's got his trips planned out, and they're just like missions. He goes places to do things. So it wasn't a spiritual retreat for us. It wasn't even a spiritual retreat. It was invite only people. And we all met up in Mount Shasta. There was different amounts of people, but I think average was 12. And these were like that lady you were describing.
Mm-hmm.
Like 60 to 70-year-old, maybe 50-year-olds. Like, I was by far the young... Well, I mean, I was the youngest one there. And, oh, man, there's... They were crazy. And these are people that have been working in these fields for their entire life. So these are people who have, like...
Man, this must be exciting for them.
Hypnotized and... Okay, so I'm going to stop right there and...
Come back to it.
So one of the guys is... he does a lot of things, but what he just recently did was write a book. And he was writing a book about how all the kids born now, like especially after 2012, but even leading up to 2012, are of an ascended nature. They are light beings being reincarnated as humans to help raise the consciousness of this planet. And this is also stuff I agree with. So when I met him and he started talking, he was talking to another guy who has a kid, and I was listening to him talk, and I was like, who is this guy? He's talking about his little 1-year-old daughter being like all the stuff that I know to be true, and I'm just like, what? Like, what? I was like, hey, I'm eavesdropping, but
yeah.
I have some questions about your... I actually, like, had to challenge some of the stuff that you were saying. I was like, can you explain what you meant by this? But, these are... Like, he wrote a book about this. He wrote a book about this to parents so that they know. Because he said this is a generation of parents that have no idea how to raise these kids. And they're putting them all on antidepressants and ADHD medication just because they're not fitting into society that we made, you know, from a dominating standpoint.
Which is very, I mean, it's rigid. The society that we made, it's pretty rigid.
It's super structured because it was made by men. It's a very masculine type thing, right? It's like even just the notion of money. It's like, I don't have to pay you in these green pieces of paper, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, it's pretty ridiculous that we actually, you know, if you do something for me, like, I have to give you this, like, money. It's pretty ridiculous. Like, is there not another way? But it's literally the only way we operate. And this is a man thing. You know, there's no way a female would have signed up or invented this process. Females wouldn't have been like, hey, we're going to be in individual family units with individual square bedrooms, and that's where you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
And, like, you're going to hook up to this grid, and the electricity is going to get brought to your house, and there's going to be a meter on the outside of your house. This is all masculine stuff, right?
Interesting.
And so this whole feminine movement, I think they've also evolved, because what I was seeing was that women were chasing masculine traits. So they were idolizing Ronda Rousey and CEOs of companies.
Yeah.
And women that were like astronauts, like charging forward. But those are still, that's like trying to live the dream of a man. Because guys want to be UFC champions. Like, guys want to be CEOs of companies. Because that's the thing that men created. But, like, what I've noticed is a whole shift in many of the women that I've talked to. They all are on board with the fact that they are responsible for harmonizing how we behave on this planet. Because men have been doing it so far. And things are getting effed up right now. Things are going to all start crashing. And we really need, the new system is going to be a combination of a more feminine approach to life, which I see in all my super hyper masculine friends. Like, I've been in the gym industry forever, and I have friends who are meditating and being kinder and nicer and talking about their feelings. I'm going through this same shift. I can feel that this, man, I could talk about a bunch of different things, but yeah, I'm going through this same kind of thing. I'm going more towards the feminine, and there's masculine and feminine in all of us.
Everybody.
But I think society needs more, like, we need generations, like 100% of the girls brought up knowing what their magic is, because we don't know what their magic is. They haven't been able to, like, we meaning men, we have suppressed anything magical about them.
Yeah, we know what the pinnacles of attainment are in this society. We know what they are, and those have been in place for a long time. The achievements, the success, the security of the job, and the providing, and all of that, like the awards, right?
Yeah, the points.
So there's other things. Yeah, the points. There's other things that, and I guess what's encouraging to me is that even if there's not some established new way that I guess you could describe in those terms as like, this is like, we have a masculine way and this specific way is a feminine way, because that hasn't been defined yet. Right. But the cool encouraging thing is that they're starting to lose respect for, maybe not lose respect, but open up to that being wrong, to a lot of things in that being wrong and can be changed. That's what I think is cool. And I hope that the things that when people do like enlighten en masse, that it becomes in a way that's like gradual enough so that it doesn't cause like people's identities and lives to be crushed. Like just like dystopia, and like we all are, picking up from burning buildings and stuff.
I kind of see that happening though.
You do?
I mean, it's happening now. A lot of my friends who are, especially the ones who are, well, just everybody, I think
like a guided shift that people are ushering towards.
We need to accept extraterrestrials that come in here or make themselves appear because they're already here. And like, people need to understand that this shift isn't going to come from a human perspective. Like the way that we're thinking about it, it's not going to happen like that. So, maybe it means that I mean, I don't want to really want to speculate, but I see people not going the route of the old system. So pharmaceutical companies are, like, all of these old systems I see crashing. Pharmaceutical companies, educational, like, there's no reason to even go to college anymore. Bosses aren't looking at diplomas as something of value. If anything, anybody who owns their own business knows that, you're more of a sheep. Like, and also it could be a sign of willpower, but it's also like, you have no life experience. If you've been in college till you're like 26 years old, or even 22 years old, you're coming out. There's a big difference between having to pass a test.
I never thought of that. You're right.
I mean, I was an employer, so I mean, and I have many, many friends from all different types of life, and it's straight up, college is not life experience. And yeah, you might work through college. I worked through college, and I played hockey, but it's a little bit different when you have like bills to pay and shit starts getting fucked up. You have IRS taxes coming in and you're just getting hit with thousands of dollars of taxes at the same time that you're supposed to be paying rent, and like the cell phone bill is like 3 days from being turned off.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have a kid, like all of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get this while you're in school.
Yeah. It's a little bit sheltered. It's a little bit paint by numbers.
But anyways, what I was saying is all these systems.
There's conventions that are being...
Banks also, this money thing, man. This money thing is really shaky now. We're all just using it, but everyone knows it's worthless. And
yeah.
like it's worthless.
And now it kind of exists as like number. What's the source of the numbers? You're shifting numbers around. So I just Venmo'd you some money. You know, I just PayPal'd you, or what's the other thing that came out a few years back?
Well, then there's like this whole Bitcoin.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Thing.
And it just makes you like think of this subtle weirdness about. So literally, there's just numbers stored someplace that are being like electronically transferred.
Well, we're electronic also.
Hey.
We have people are accessing our mind through text messages, right? And you know, there's thousands of people that knew what I was doing last week, right? They knew that I was riding a unicycle in snow for the first time, and what my thoughts were and like the emotion on my face.
What? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, unicycle. I didn't. It's
yeah. But
it's not for it's not for this show. I said like thousands of people, right?
Okay.
If I have followers,
yeah.
There's this electronic version of Ronnie, like similar to an avatar, but I don't actually have to get into an avatar and walk around in the environment, because I can just video myself here and now, and then it just gets spread to thousands of people. And you know, talking about energy, these people are all showing me energy.
Yeah.
And this is what I think is going to be the new money, right? So if you think about what is, by the way, I just closed my gym. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that when we get to the right spot.
But basically, I just, like you were saying earlier, it got to a point where I just was like, you know what, I don't care to be having to work every single day so that I can pay my bills. At one point, teaching people fitness and all this stuff, and I am super passionate about teaching, but like just teaching people fitness, I started trying to get into this meditation or breathing or all this other stuff, and when I saw that it was really hard to run a gym and be able to talk about this stuff, I got really bored and I just shut it down, because this is the important stuff.
Shut it down. So you had to put in a ton of time, because my brother Pete, he owns a CrossFit gym in Florida, and I know how busy he gets. So when was your like meditation during this whole like 10 years that you're running this gym? Like,
well,
how did that occur?
I keep on saying that so eventually I just learned to meditate without having to sit down and close my eyes.
What?
You can just make your own rules, man.
That's one of the I think that's one of the draws I had towards you, because a 22-year-old meditating to bring people to himself to avoid the assertiveness. I mean, that's outside of the box rules, and I think the more people you hang out with or listen to that think outside of the box is like, I mean, there is no box, man. So at the gym, meditation means to you something different than it does to me. Right now it means like you said, stillness, following some kind of guided thing until you can do it yourself.
Well, but
lasting
like
20 minutes, and it's supposed to be 2 hours.
Yeah,
to actually get progress out of it.
But when you look at like what the actual concepts of, so I learned this from like another 62-year-old, you know, and I don't know if I created this or what, but I've always been friends, especially since I moved to LA, with older people. I think those are the people that will talk like this. So I've always been around and getting the influence of somebody who has a lot of years on this planet.
Yeah.
And
they'll just naturally start.
plus I was a personal trainer in LA, so I'm hanging out with very successful people. It was during a crash. So everyone who was my clients were people that were surviving the crash of 2007.
So like 09, 08, 09, and you worked with me around then.
Yeah, so when
But
I
you were
was
also
working with
training.
you, like we were managing apartments and selling apartment units. I don't know if you were trying to avoid saying that, but
yeah, I was, but I've talked about it on 2 other episodes at length.
Okay, so what I was doing was I didn't have a living room. I had a gym in my living room, and I was on top of what I was making with you,
Yeah.
which was quite decent. When we were selling apartments, we would get $100 to $300 per lease, and
Yeah.
we would be doing 1 to
4
3
months
of them.
of banging those
Yeah,
out, and then
just-
yeah.
So that was a lot. I was rolling in dough because I didn't even have many expenses. It was just me training people, and I was making $100,000. 10 people, 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. And I remember my goal would always be to make $2,000 a week. That was like what I was trying to sustain. And then at the side I was doing what you were doing, and I was taking all that money and just buying more equipment and buying more equipment and buying more equipment. So I jumped from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom with the garage to a loft. I was in 3 different places. And then I just quit.
Yeah.
And went downtown and opened and got like a pretty expensive loft for me.
Yeah.
Like having to pay, I think it was $3,400 a month, but the gym was
Living and the gym.
yeah.
Okay.
But I was young.
That's ideal.
Dude, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. It was all just me trusting that this was gonna work.
That's awesome. I love it.
But what were we talking about that made me even mention that?
The gym, and I asked you, I just told.
Oh, yeah.
You said you did meditate, and you had to do it in a way.
So one of my clients was, I mean, I barely trained the guy. We were mostly just friends. He was the first guy that told me about like, hey, you know what? You should really look up like a high cholesterol diet. And this was 2008, 2009, and I'm like, what do you mean? I thought fat and cholesterol are stuff you want to avoid. I'm a health expert, right? I'm a personal trainer, and this guy's just like, well, son, I've been doing this for my whole life. Like, I'm also a health expert, and look it up. There's studies that they feed people tons of cholesterol and their body fat drops and their cholesterol drops.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a whole nother topic, which I'm just saying back then this was a new concept. Now it's regular knowledge for me.
Yeah, but to other people that are not in your field,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of still out of left field.
Yeah.
Diet, because I'm kind of doing that right now too, and it's really wacky to people.
Yeah, I can explain it, but not.
Yeah, we don't.
Because we're talking about other
talking
stuff.
about you and the path, and
So he
Yeah.
told me, like, yo, you meditate? Okay, well, you don't have to sit down. So he actually, like, he gave me the idea, I would say. So I tail-coded on his discovery, or I don't know where he got it from, but he was basically just like, yeah, I just meditate all the time. I think that was it. We had like I never believed anything that this guy said. So when he was saying stuff, it was just going over my head. It wasn't until years later that I would be like, wait, Paul said this one time. So that was it. He said that to me at one point, and then I think a few years later, I just started really thinking, what are we trying to achieve through meditation? And is it necessary that I be sitting down and closing my eyes? So when I'm meditating, there's all different ways, but just the most resonant thing is that you want to be connected to source. So this body's producing all this distraction from source consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what I am aiming to connect with when my eyes are closed. I want to be connected to source. And there's no reason why I need to be sitting down with my eyes closed for that to happen. If I know on many different levels, from a scientific level, from a esoteric level, from just all these different levels, that I am source. now I'm just conscious and meditating all the time. So I did that for a while. I would say sometime for a while, meaning most of my adult life. And I would say in the last year or two, I've massively upped the sitting cross-legged with your spine a certain way and eyes closed, pineal gland activating. Like, I've massively increased that. But there was a while when I was just too busy to do that. I mean, 20 minutes is really valuable. Like,
try having a full-time job and a 1.5-year-old too, man. It's 20 minutes is valuable.
Yeah.
Where am I going to fit that in? But you did. You didn't go from not meditating and not understanding that to like doing what Paul said and just realizing that your source, because you kind of, it was like a...
Yeah, it was just...
But you can kind of make people climb that rung faster by introducing that to them.
Yeah, and this is why I closed my gym, because I want to affect the planet, like the actual planet, and that includes the people on it. Like, we are not separate. And that means that if I'm going to work on people, I need to work on all peoples. And that this is a realization that I've gotten recently. Working on individual people isn't actually going to help the group. And I'm only interested in the group. Because when the group ascends, the individuals go to a far greater area than they ever would just on their own. We're like if you imagine the stars and we all being stars, we're all connected on frequencies that I know people that can feel them and roam around in them and communicate, but not everyone can. But there's a level of connectiveness between us all. You can feel it. Like, if you're alone in a room and somebody walks by, you like turn and look. You know somebody walked by, and that is the energy. Mm-hmm. Like the whiskers on cats and dogs, the hair on spiders. Those things are made to collect and sense energy. Same thing with the what's the shark that looks like this? Hammerheads?
Yeah, hammerheads.
Those things have that's an organ.
They have a magnetic sense that's like out of this world, right?
Yes. So I want to say that I even think they're killing those sharks to get the gel that they produce.
That is some horrific.
And I want to say it's the female son. No, I don't remember. But yeah, we have to change everybody.
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna try and take a picture of you, but I don't know how to use it. I just got this phone the other day. But now I've distracted you. I've broken the...
Here, you can take a picture of me, and then I'll send it to you.
All right, cool. I had this thing where I was going to take a picture of everybody in that ficus tree out there, and I only did that with like one person. So I'll just do it right here. Cool. It's just cool light, man. You got a halo.
Halo.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I just heard that word like 5 minutes ago, and it peaked up in my mind. But then you just re-mentioned it. Anyways.
I love that crap. And so I'm not jumping. I don't know like what the sound or the frequency or anything is of like the top. But one of the other chakra books I got, it's called the Chakra Bible. She has a picture of like some old, 16th century Catholic stained glass window of a halo. Mm-hmm. And it's just how similar like so many of like the faiths are, and that it's a halo. It's the crown like chakra that is of the attainment of the enlightenment. And that's why people followed them around and called them saints, and they shared their energy and affected the world. And then they get the halo.
I don't know if this is true, but I always ask people to think about the words that they're using. And enlightenment, I think,
how many times are we going to say light?
Would translate into to be light, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is what enlightenment means. So,
To be light.
or at least that's what I think it means.
Yeah. This is so new, man. The gym not being there. So is there still a building with all of your gear in there and all
I
your
just
stuff?
got it out like within the last week. So
Mhm.
I'm completely unhitched from that sort of energy. Because
Mhm.
like you were saying, you're putting energy into acting. I was putting energy into this business and the people, and I loved it, and it was my dream. But it was
Mhm.
something I dreamed of 11 years ago.
Mhm. Yep.
And like I said, I love people and I learn about people. That's like my favorite subject. And eventually, when I learned about people, I learned that people are connected to everything, right? I just naturally progressed studying about people and health and diet and like what is food, like why does it give us energy, why do we breathe,
Mhm.
like if you really understand what oxygen is, like it took hours of re-educating myself what elements are and how they behave and the vibrational shapes and what oxygen is and why it would be beneficial to our body. It's not just this thing that we breathe.
Mhm.
It's there's that word prana, right? Like the life force or life essence, and it's usually associated with breath. And it is a force. It's something that I would like to take a little bit longer to explain, so I'm not going to go into it.
We don't have a limit on mine. I was just told by like a few people, like my sister, that we should try to keep it under 40 minutes. You know?
Okay.
But you're going to have a show that tons and tons of people are going to listen to. For sure. Or you just bounce around like to other people's and they'll be like, dude, Ronnie needs to come on.
You need to produce this because the other ones, many people said it was their best, like, favorite podcast they've ever listened to. Ever.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You mean the Wadcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my brother listens to all the time. And he mentioned one Wadcast to me, and that was it, dude.
So, yeah, when you start just researching this, you eventually get underneath the thing. So I'm getting underneath exercise and looking up and being like, yo, we don't need the exercise. Like, we don't, like, the food we eat is important, but not for the reasons that we think they are. It's like the fat and the protein and the carbs, like, that sort of stuff is
Hey, man.
so surface level.
Check out my macros.
Yeah?
No, I'm just saying.
No, I know.
Hey, it helped me trim some weight over the past like year and a half. I went down from 185 to like 158. Like I lost like a lot of weight.
That's good.
Just because I really desperately wanted to get parts as an actor so bad, you know?
Yeah, so you're saying that was your intention, right?
Yeah.
So I intend on having my body super fit without training.
Yeah.
And it works. So I work out a few times a year.
You did this thing on your...
Yeah, I just started doing that.
On your...
Instagram.
Yeah, and that's something that I got from like Michael Jackson's Thriller. There's like some dancers that do that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm always like, whenever I'm like, I'm getting older, I better do this every day. But you did it with freaking weights and water glasses and stuff.
You were a dancer, right?
Yeah.
I just remembered that.
And whenever I work out and I like the dudes who are really strength based, I love doing that and I feel like pumped. But sometimes I feel like, dude, that doesn't make me feel engaged and youthful and like incapable in life to be like just super strong. You know, it makes me feel great to be like,
I think
to be able to do what you were doing and have your joints loose, you know. You should see me trying Tai Chi every morning.
Yeah,
It's a disaster, but I'm trying. Just based on YouTube videos, that's my next thing because I can't.
Can you build a ball of energy with your hands?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to feel right there and expand it and and feel it. Like my fingers are shaking right now, and try to make sure that it's close. But what happens when I bring it out? What happens when my hands separate? You know, because eventually I'm gonna. then those hands are gonna separate. So where's
Oh,
my energy now?
so you can't do that.
I don't know.
No, you can. Well, that's the thing. Is
That's what it feels like.
Don't have a question. What do you want the energy to do?
Yeah.
So what I do, and no one's taught me Tai Chi or Qigong or anything. I need to actually start studying it because I just do what you were doing, and somebody, like, people started saying that's Tai Chi or that's Qigong, and I just know that, I got these I had a friend that gave me these copper spiraled healing rods is what he called them, and they're like with crystals inside of them, and you could feel the energy in between them. Like, you could just feel it, and it was powerful. I felt like I could go into areas and just like drive energy into all the plants and the trees, and I had to give those back, and then I eventually just did it with my hands, and I was like, oh, we can just do this with our hands. And that's how I learned, and I didn't even know it was a thing. But what I like, one of my favorite things is this kind of like this figure 8. And after I build the ball, when I do the figure 8, watch my bottom hand. My bottom hand flicks the energy out, and then it comes back over top and then grabs the energy. But I flick the energy out to feed the planet, and sometimes I'm just flicking it to the trees and the grass and the plants around me and the humans, and sometimes I'm spraying it through the entire planet or the entire universe, and I'm trying to spread this vibration of just whatever, bliss, harmony, this feeling that I have, that feeling that you get in between your hands. And sometimes the energy comes back through me or underneath me, through the earth, into me, and then it's sprayed out again. But I'm sharing. Whenever I go into a field, which I love to do, I'm always communicating with that is one thing that I think I can do. Like, there's girls that I know that can hear your thoughts or feel your emotions, and I feel like I connect with the earth more as like that is my power. Like, I have the earth that I can feel and sense.
Do you get camping? Or, like, how do you get in touch with here in LA, like, I haven't been out of LA in over a year.
Yeah, there's a few parks though that are pretty decent here. Elysian Park was downtown, and that was where I had a gym. Oh. But where it's like a park where you don't really see the city. You see the city if you go on the mountain and look. But, on Christmas, I go to the park and sit on a tree. And on that day, the entire planet is very, very happy.
It is. It's brilliant.
So on December 25th, I'm sitting on the tree at the top of this like hill. It's the highest point in Elysian Park, and there's this epic like grandfather tree with just arms that come out like this.
Yeah.
Like, just tons of arms that are just coming out, and you can sit on them or stand on them and see 360 degrees around the city. And on Christmas, I'm there just collecting. It feels like the entire earth, not just the city, but it just feels like everywhere on the planet there's a raised sense of harmony and things.
How long did you sit there?
Feel
Do you have
good.
An idea?
Last year it was like I would
this
say
is a Christmas thing now.
4 or 5 years. Well, no, I think I really felt like doing it this year, so I did it. It wasn't something random.
It doesn't have to be that tree either. It could be anywhere.
Right, and then usually I would just go outside for the same reasons. But this particular year, going in a tree was a game changer. I could definitely feel it.
The trees, man.
Dude, look at what we're sitting on. Wood.
Yeah,
wood. Like,
wood.
These things we just treat like crap, right? But they're far I don't know if superior is the word, but
what's a forest experience you have? A buddy of mine in college took me out. He was a real forest guy. We went on the Appalachian Trail, and we were out there in the middle of the night, and backpack camping, and he told me just hold still and feel the forest, and
Dude, I was just going to say this.
What?
I was just going to say this.
And it just rocked me, and just how powerful that forest was, those trees. And this was like not the grand sequoia redwoods, or this was just a forest out in Appalachia somewhere. But being there at night, the stillness is a sound. The stillness is almost like there's definitely sounds. It's not silent.
So
it's music.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that when I go into nature, I wouldn't say I'm perfect, so I'm gonna say I try to not use words to describe my reality. So if I'm looking around this room, I'm seeing things, right? That's a fireplace, that's a basketball hoop, that's a door, that's a volleyball, that's a frisbee, like that's a book on chakras. These are words. Right? Like, the word frisbee isn't a frisbee.
Right.
So when I go into the forest, I'm trying to experience, or as you say, feel. I'm trying to feel the energy of, like, not the word leaf, but really just the energy of what a leaf is. Right? And so it's doing the exact same thing you're doing, but again, with movement. I don't want to stand still all the time. So, like, how can I do this while I'm walking around? That's one of the things in Mount Shasta. We kept on having to go into the woods and meditate, and I just kept on walking around.
You were walking around?
Yeah, or unicycling around, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
because that's constant motion, unicycling.
Right. And it's just, I feel like it's, I mean, closing your eyes and doing the whole thing is definitely where it's at. Like, there's something different there. But, like, I'm just like trying to adapt it into what I'm interested in, which is like having fun.
And you can adapt anything. Goodness God, you can adapt anything. And that's something that you don't realize sometimes. If you get in your rhythms and you get in, like, what you think you have to do, is all of a sudden, like, you totally think within this guidebook that has been given to you. You can adapt that, damn. It's your guidebook.
Yeah, this whole reality is us. It like, everything here is us, and we can create whatever we want. And the another kind of thing I want to inspire people to at least question is like, if you're complaining about something in your reality, which is supposed to be you, then that is basically you not accepting yourself as a creator, which will then make it impossible for you to create. So, like, there cannot be any complaints about anything because you're complaining about yourself. You're not allowing yourself to be a creator. So, you won't create. You'll just be sitting there asking yourself, why don't I have a Ferrari? I'm trying to manifest a Ferrari by imagining my hands behind the steering wheel and the gloves that I'm wearing and the roads that I'll be driving on and the babes that I'm trying to manifest it. Why isn't it happening? Well, it's happening because you're bitching about this and that all the time. Just open up Facebook and you're just like, people, come on. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm waiting for you. Dude. Connect.
One of the things I said early on that is I was trying to carry through as an inspiration is when you see the bitching, I think that there's different levels of vibration that is being wasted right now. I think, like, the lowest one, but spends a lot of time on, is like race relations. The lowest vibrate, and I think that so much energy is going to go from that towards something good when people start to
it's a lot of potential is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like
you're right.
A tapped oil field of, like, dude, we're going to solve some fucking problems when we can start to elevate from some of these things that we're wasting a lot of time on now.
Yo, you just went one level deeper than I normally think about this issue, because I'm always thinking, like, don't these people realize that this, quote, bad stuff that's happening is causing everybody to question, which is actually good for awareness?
Yeah.
But you went a level deeper by saying that, like, even the fact that people are bitching is a good thing.
Because we can see that's
going to be potential
because what
energy.
You're doing is
that's awesome.
Every person you reach is probably going to be pretty raised up from that low vibration, and that's more and more people that are going to be, like, kind of stepping up, because there's some bigger problems to solve. what we do with trees, what we eat, how commerce works, medicine. Those are some bigger problems.
Right.
So that untapped potential.
And that's easy. Yeah, we handle the people and the, like you said, the commerce problems, the systems that are around, like those only exist because we created them.
Yeah.
Like we choose, like I said, I choose to use money, but I'm shifting because I closed my business, not having another way to make money, because that's not important to me. What's important to me, like, hey, having a bunch of green dollar bills isn't important to me. It doesn't actually mean anything. Okay, to most people it's like, yeah, but you can use those to go buy food. Okay,
or to experience happy vacations.
Yeah. So is there a way to do that without money? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So there's a new system that's going to be created, and I am not thinking it. I'm thinking it's going to happen. I'm certain it's going to happen, and I'm diving off the cliff and just being like, fuck this money stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what do I need? I need shelter. I need food, and I need to reach people on a heart-to-heart connection. These aren't impossible tasks that I have to go working 80 hours a week and like paying taxes on top of this money. That's another thing. There's somebody else controlling how much this money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, no, I think I would like to control how much I'm worth. like
yeah, it really seems like such a passive way to be, like when somebody else controls, and you haven't been an employee for a while, right?
I mean, and even that was just Murdad was my client, our boss.
Oh, okay.
That's how I met him.
All right.
At the personal training gym. So he just brought me in, but I've never actually been an employee, like,
that was
for real.
Freelance. Yeah.
I've never been like a real employee where I like needed the money to eat. I started mowing lawns when I was like in 5th grade.
So that's definitely an independent, like, take care of like yourself.
Dude, and it was weird because I remember just sitting there like as a kid in like 6th grade, just being like, man, just adding up the fact that I didn't mow the neighbor's lawn, and there was a couple people paying me $5 and a couple people paying me $20. And as like, it was before 6th grade, it was like elementary school. As an elementary school kid, $5 is a lot. And I remember sitting there just thinking like, man, I was so lazy that I didn't mow Sally's lawn the last, like, I could have done it 2 times a week, and I missed 3 opportunities. Now, what that's going to mean is that the grass is going to be super long. It's going to be very shitty for me to mow it when I do mow it, and I'm going to have to rake. And I get paid less than if I would have just, like, done it every couple of days like I was supposed to. I remember having these thoughts with myself.
What's that story tell you? What's your takeaway from that?
I mean, I don't know. There's just an awareness there's just an awareness that I had of, like, as an elementary school kid, I knew what my work was worth.
Okay, that's it.
And what, like,
energy can do.
Right. Yeah. And, like, the fact that if I didn't do it, again, these are lessons that I was learning, and that's why I rejected school. Because, like, it's like, this stuff is pointless. I know that if I don't do work, I don't get paid. And if I do work, I do get paid. It's all easier if I work hard. Everything's easier if you work hard.
Yeah.
Like, that is the takeaway,
and actually. That's something that's cool, in case you think, hearing this, that, like, Ronnie is like, or me, because I'm doing something really similar. I mean, my last day working this job was yesterday. And,
nice.
And in case you think, like, he's late, he just defined for you a really deep understanding of how unlazy he is.
No, dude, yeah.
It's work hard, but it's what you put yourself into.
The reason why I even know you is because I wanted to make more funds to buy exercise equipment to fund my own gym without partners. Like, I was working a second job. I was making $100,000 cash, pretty much, a year, and was thinking, okay, this will just buy me a good life, but I want a gym. So... I need to do something else. And then I was just making I just remember those checks were we would get, like, 30 checks, all for
Yeah.
like $100
Yeah.
to $200.
That was a good trip to the bank.
To go to the bank, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's pretty annoying. Back then, you couldn't deposit like 50 checks at once. It was like there was a limit on how much checks you could deposit, and it would be like this weird thing where you want to be annoyed that you have to stand there forever with all these
Yeah.
checks, but then you're like, nah, this is thousands of dollars.
Yeah. That was
Commission checks.
great. What was I just gonna ask you? Oh, do you have any kind of a message for, like, you just explained that your gym was something that you want to redirect your energy from towards something that you feel excited about again. But what about the people who do have gyms right now that like they do need that to take care of their family or whatever? Still great, awesome reasons for people to own gyms, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll make it a lot easier if everybody gets on board with making what we're talking about sexy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if anybody can do it, man, you're looking at them.
So, no, man, I think that everybody should be doing what they want to do. So if you want to own a gym,
Yeah.
it's not easy. And, gym owners, some of them make money. A lot of them don't, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like these people, and I know what it's like. I would say there was 3 years that I didn't want to own my gym, that I was completely rejecting it. What happened was everything was good. I'm living my dream. I always wanted a functional fitness facility with ropes hanging from the ceiling and big tractor tires and importantly, athletic minded people.
Okay.
Athletic
I was gonna say
minded people
ladies.
and ladies. Yeah. That's a crazy thing when you watch little girls walk in who are just like physically worthless, and then 3 years later they're like, you would think that this girl worked out every single day of her life, that she was born a football player or something. But so I'm living the dream, and then I watched a few of my clients die, my older clients, and I was moving these people out of their house and just looking at their life from the end, like back, right? Because I'm taking all their stuff out of their cabinets, looking at their pictures, their awards, their clothes, their things, right? There's like skis and bikes, and like I'm just looking at all their things, and I'm looking at like, wow, this person's dead now. Worked like crazy to afford this house, and now they're dead. Like, I wonder if they're happy, like, because if I get to this point and I'm dying, I don't want to remember how much work I did. Like, what the fuck? I don't care if can I say that word? I don't care.
Yeah, I think we have, but thanks for asking. But yeah.
Ethan walked away.
You don't want to think about...
Yeah, like, I don't care how good of a slave I was.
Right.
I just don't, and it doesn't even matter how like, so before this I opened a second gym, so I had 2 gyms running when I'm having this realization, because I was going towards the house in the hills, and then here I am sitting in a house in the hills, and then I'm just like, wow, I better be happy if I'm going to do this. So one of these particular clients gave me a house at the top of the house, like the top of Sunset Plaza. It was ridiculous, with a pool that we could make as hot as we wanted.
Yeah.
Like, he left. He had another place in Colorado, and like I could make this pool 105 degrees if I wanted. And I have like a hot tub sized pool at the top of the Hollywood Hills. This was the greatest experience ever. This is like everything that I was working for.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Oh my
I had
gosh.
people over. It was awesome, with like the most expensive cutlery and like glasses and silverware and TVs and leather couches and just all this high class stuff, right? And it was like my style. It wasn't like too ritzy. It was like, if I'm gonna do it, this is exactly how I would do it.
But that
And
stuff was
then-
already there, or did you put it all in?
No, it was already there.
Oh, so it's just freaking...
So, it still wasn't worth it. I was like, this still isn't worth me trading my life for, and I want to live. So it was during these times that I was just like, kind of not liking the fact that I owned a gym and that I had this thing that I had to do, and it prevented me from like just going somewhere else in the world if I wanted to live, because I needed to make money and I felt responsible to all the people.
Yeah.
So anyways, that kind of it naturally ended itself. It took 3 years though. This was around 2013 or 14 that I'm having these thoughts, and then finally I was able to cut it. And
man, the day I texted you or direct messaged you was like the day you were about to do it. You're like, I'm about to go and tell a bunch of people that are like dear to me that the gym's gone.
Yeah, we had to do that. But yeah, everything's based on trust now, what I'm doing, and it's relevant. It's not like some mystical thing.
Yeah, you didn't say that earlier. You said like the new currency, but what you just said right there is trust.
Yeah.
Because that's something that you cannot deny if you trust somebody or not.
And you also need to trust yourself in terms of yourself being everything, right?
Okay.
If you imagine all the times you've been stressed in your life, and still, like, look around you. You still have a life. There's still, like, beautiful things about your life. And if you think back to every single time you stressed and you think about, like, how much value did the stress have? Like, how much value was it to me? It's very close to zero. So just go through life never stressing, and you're going to still be taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. And I'm not even claiming to be somebody who has it easy. Like, there's been, like, you do get bills for over $10,000 of just IRS tax bills that, like, you just didn't even know existed when you own a business. And or even hundreds of thousands or millions if you're, like, on that level. But you just get these random letters. It's like, oh, I owe $13,000 that I didn't know I owed. And just, like, put it down. And then it's like, oh, I got a letter. I'm being sued because one of my employees did something that, or a staff member, he wasn't even an employee, did something that, you know, he shouldn't have. Okay. And you, like there's, there's very stressful things, like girl issues and all this stuff, like, we have to deal with it, and I just choose to just be happy, no matter what.
Yeah. Fear response and feared event avoidance, you know, is like something I'm trying not to have in my life. Like, am I doing that because I'm afraid of, there's something I'm afraid of that I want to avoid? That's like the opposite. I think that is what I had been doing for a long time. It's like, I'm afraid of this happening, so I want to avoid that. Now I'm trying to do much more like proactive, like what do I want to focus on? Because then whatever happens, as long as I know my focus was right, it's all fine. Like, then I can truly no longer stress and say, well, that's what the universe gave me. That's what, like, the source gave me.
So I just thought of this, which this is awesome being me, because I get these thoughts.
Yeah.
And they come out. So I don't know if I'm going to explain this properly or not. But what you just said, so when I was young, like 5th grade, I would just tell my brothers and sisters and stuff that I was psychic. Like, I'm psychic. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I'm psychic. It would just be, and it just seemed like I was being cocky, right? Well, the funny thing is that I eventually figured out that I'm not psychic, and that I'm actually creating the things. I'm not guessing what's going to happen. I'm creating them. Man, I just remembered that. It's nuts that
you had that thought and that can just come back to you. Like, oh yeah, I have been thinking about this since I was very young. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, that wasn't even the main point that I was going to say. So when you're talking about fear avoidance, and like sometimes once you get that thought, it's really hard to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
So I had an experience coming back from Mount Shasta. I kept on thinking I'm going to get a speeding ticket. Like, yes, I'm going 100 miles an hour, but like, I, I'm like, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. And I'm like, Ronnie, stop thinking about that. Stop thinking about that. Because you know that that's what's going to happen. And sure enough, like literally the last stretch of highway before the grapevine where it's going to get all trafficy anyways,
Yeah.
I get pulled over doing 90 and a 70. And I've been thinking about this, like I don't know if my thought created that. What I think happened was I was shifting into the reality where I was getting a speeding ticket. I was shifting into that for some reason, and because I could feel that I'm going in the direction of this
Pulled you right in.
ticket, I could feel that, and that's where the thoughts were coming from. So I think there's another level of like, why are we going in the direction of our fears that needs to be addressed? Not just don't think about them. It's like, why are we choosing to go towards this direction? Like, why was I choosing to get the experience of having a speeding ticket? And that's a whole nother thing when you think about, like, well, why did this happen? What is the good in this? How's it going to help me?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think we're creating negative thoughts by thinking about them. I think we can just feel that we're going in that direction. And in order to change the direction, it's a lot deeper than just quit thinking about this. Like, you're thinking about it because you're going in that direction. So you kind of have to like step even deeper and think, okay, why am I thinking this? Because it's impossible to stop thinking it. You tell you can battle with yourself, quit thinking this, quit thinking, but
That's a
even
battle.
just
Because what you're talking about is that all possible realities are always in existence.
Correct.
Equally.
Yes.
And you guide yourself through the ones that you experience.
Know about this, yeah.
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 And that's when you're like, why am I pulling towards that reality right there? It's in my freaking mind. I can't get it out of my mind. And then all of a sudden you get a ticket. Yeah.
But
it's
like
deeper than just
at hour 8 of me driving, and I've been thinking about it for 8 hours straight. And I just knew it was like the sheriff pulled me over. He just like pops his head into the passenger window. He's like, I pulled you over because you're going 90 and a 70. And I had the biggest smile on my face.
Yeah.
Just like, I knew this was going to happen. You're like a dream right now.
Oh, gosh. So I don't know. I'm going to think about that, about what you said about the deeper level of analyzing why that's coming into your mind, because some of those things seem really obvious. Like, I'm afraid of being broke. I better not think about being broke. That's a pretty obvious thought, you know. But that's still. Somebody recently told me the universe and your reality doesn't understand the word "don't." It's whatever the thing is. That's the energy that you're drawn towards. So if you say, I don't want to get a speeding ticket, all you're doing is going towards speeding ticket reality. And that's why some people attribute that with the president that we have now, is that whether people were saying don't or do, they were all thinking about that one.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was going to say that earlier, that knowledge, when I was talking about money, speaking of being broke, I don't know that knowledge is going to be valuable for much longer, because there's nothing I am saying that you can't find on the internet in 3 seconds, right? You can even go on the internet and look at studies from particle accelerators and what it means when particles smash into each other, and like the directions of the pieces. They're not even really pieces though, right? Like, you can go find this stuff. You can go learn how to build a UFO if you want, just on YouTube for free. So I think back in the past, if you knew how to grow a tomato, you could sell the tomato.
Yeah.
Right? So you could use knowledge to your benefit. So creativity is also a version of benefit, but I think, or a version of energy transfer. But I think that knowledge is going to become less valuable, which is another reason that led me to closing my teaching-based business, brick and mortar especially, is I don't know how much longer knowledge is going to be. Like, especially when you start talking about, like, us being of, like, this golden era, this ascended age, we're talking about humans being able to interact with each other without words, but just telecommunicate. And just, you don't need to, that's how it's going to happen. In order for all of us to want everybody else to be good, we're going to have to feel everybody else. And when I can feel, like, you don't need to tell me you're hungry or ask me for $1 so you can go buy a Coke. If you're hungry and I feel hungry because you feel hungry, I'm going to want you to eat. Right? So if there's some if there's some gland or organ inside of us that's not turned on, and it gets turned on where we can now feel everybody within a mile radius of us, or even just 100 feet radius, can you imagine being able to sense everybody else's sensations? You'd just be like, yeah, like you just would want everyone to feel as good as possible. And the trade-off would be like, in the beginning, it might be like a hassle. You're like knocking on people's doors, like, "Yo, take a shower right now. I have some food for you. Like, let's."
Yeah.
Like the beginning, but like maybe once the entire planet is on this level where we're sharing emotions, we don't need to use these limiting words. We actually share feelings and energy transfer. And now it's an entire planet worth of this like humming vibrational energy. Dude, that is a place where I want to live, right? Like this is, and all it takes is us being able to feel each other. Then we're not separate. But guess what? It's already happening, and it's called the internet, right? So like I was just saying, like in this age that I'm talking about, if a scientist discovers something in Africa and his brain is connected to the human population grid, then everybody finds out that discovery. But it's kind of happening through technology. Somebody discovers something somewhere, literally seconds on Instagram, hundreds of thousands, millions of people know about it, and if it's something dramatic, everyone will know about it.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that Trump's the president of the United States. Why does like a little child in Australia know that? Like, it's because of the internet.
Yeah.
So we're already kind of going towards, and again, I'm assuming that I'm living in this new reality. And because I can see these things and I see them for what they are, the internet is a one mind. It's a one mind consciousness that we all create. That's another thing. The internet exists through us. Just like if there is this fantasy scenario that I explained where everybody feels everything in that reality would be created by the people. We're creating the internet. The internet's not creating itself. The internet's not happening to us. The internet is being created by our God minds. So, man, and then when you think about the internet, I think I started talking about this earlier. We have avatars on the internet, and dude,
yes.
My avatar, I mean, I feel like my actual life is way more fantastic than what I share on social media, like way more, which people keep on saying that that's not the case for them, but for me it is the case. There's so much stuff I can't share on social media.
That is so awesome to hear. Yeah, that's like exactly the opposite of the sentiment that you hear about.
Dude, like I can't share things on social media like sex and like the crazy experience I had watching like a beetle roll on his back, right, this morning.
That's just
like,
your life.
Yeah, and these things are like, I put on Instagram like the things that are relevant to my followers, which in the past was like movement, which I struggled to do. I was just like trying to make up movement type stuff because that's what I felt like people wanted. But like, and now it's probably hopefully going to go into this like what we're talking about is what I'm sharing. But there's still going to be a huge void of my life that is so exciting that I can't put on there. Because like...
Hey, that's something we have to wrestle with a little bit. We have to like live our life and be like, all right, well, I haven't shared anything for a while.
Dude,
I've done so much in the past 3 days. how do I choose one of
Right,
those things? You
right.
know, I can't. And sometimes if you go too long, you're just like the kid who didn't mow the grass. You're like, I don't know where I'm gonna start now.
Yo, I just made a public post about me closing the gym this morning, and I woke up.
Oh my gosh.
I woke up at 6:30 a.m. because I finished it at 1 a.m. last night. I finished the words I was gonna pick. I picked 10 pictures and videos, which weren't the greatest, but they're what I picked, so they're what is on there. And then I had to figure out the text and the hashtags and exactly what I'm going to say. And I'm telling you, I spent 3 hours 2 days ago picking out pictures and videos. I went through every picture and video I've ever taken in my gyms.
Yeah.
3 hours doing that. Then yesterday it was probably...
What was the goal? How many?
Another 4
to post,
hours.
Or what to post?
Just to post one thing saying like, hey people, I closed my gym. So we're talking 7 hours for one post.
That is not even unbelievable. Because you're dealing with like a pretty grand scale of like an announcement. I mean,
But even
I'm
just,
saying like, I should. This weekend I went to a cool barbecue and I saw family and my kids played. What?
even that takes time. It takes
Yeah.
energy, right?
Seriously,
And
an
it's
hour and
like
a half.
every picture
An hour
that
and a
you
half,
take-
and I haven't chosen a picture yet.
Yeah. Okay, so it is taking over an hour.
Yeah.
I think that an hour is normal to spend on like just everybody's like day to day like post. It's at least an hour. And because it's the thing too, right?
Yeah.
Like for people who are teachers, you actually have to produce the picture or video. That's a whole nother thing. Like people are doing photo shoots and
Right.
going places, taking videos, and sometimes they use them the next day or sometimes they use them 3 months later. But this is like this whole separate like full-time or part-time job that we all have. And
That we all have now.
it's called like your digital self.
Yeah. You mean the avatar? Is that the
Yeah.
same word you use? Yeah. Yeah, your avatar. There's other phrases for it that are more or less like hard to stomach, like your brand.
Yeah, brand. Doing it for my brand. That just makes you sound like you're professional.
Yeah,
That you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
playing. That's like something that we would have to like tell our parents, right?
Yeah.
But it's really what you do when you're like handing it over to somebody to take a picture of you. Is like your friend, you're like, hey man, I need you to videotape me doing a handstand. Like,
Yeah.
it's for my brand. Like I need to do this.
And we all get it kind of a
Yeah.
little bit now. My favorite moment, this was like before I had even got on Instagram, maybe like 2 years ago. I saw this kid looking so cool on the steps of Hollywood High School when I was walking past. I mean, looking like James Dean or something, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was just looking like this. And then I realized that the kid like down at the bottom step had been taking his picture. And so he went from like this cool posture to being like, and then checking it.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's the most uncool thing to check the phone.
Yeah.
So you're like doing something cool, and then you're like, your phone's on a tripod, you like run over to it, get on your knees, squat, like your butt's up in the air as you're like looking at the video on the phone.
There you go.
It's so weird.
I know. Instagram. Dude, let's end this because Jack's
Yeah.
about to wake up, and this has been really cool, like I knew it would be.
This is just the guide, right? It's just the things have to happen if we needed to have this talk.
Yeah, I think the people that it just legitimizes a lot of the things that I'm seeking, and it opens my eyes up to a lot more things. A lot more things. I cannot possibly summarize, so I won't. I'll just say, thanks for listening. And I usually give people some of this, Ronnie.
I've been looking at that the whole time.
Yeah.
I knew this is the reality we're going towards.
Thank you for listening.